violet stars. She sat motionless by the curved glass of the observation dome every night, Dr. Chen noted in his daily log. The small purple-skinned child had been there for 23 days now, staring out at the distant nebula that had once been her home system. The refugee center buzzed with activity around her. Yet Aya remained untouched by it all, a silent island amid the chaos of displaced beings from 12 different worlds. "Any progress with the Netherian child today?" asked Alex, sliding his coffee beside Dr. Chen's terminal. "Nothing." Dr. Chen sighed, running his hand through his disheveled hair. The monitoring systems showed normal vital signs, but her neural patterns remained locked in a state of emotional suspension. She hasn't spoken a word since the evacuation ships brought her here. The other Netherian said her family's transport was hit during the exodus, Alex whispered. They think she watched it happen outside the staff area. Children from various species played in the recreation zone. Their laughter echoed through the habitat dome, creating a stark contrast to Aya's stillness. Her luminous purple skin barely pulsed with the faint biorhythms that characterized her species. Her eyes, large and filled with tiny specks that resembled stars, remained fixed on the distant cosmos. Dr. Chen had read everything available about Netherians. Their homeworld, Nethera, had been caught in the crossfire of the Galactic Coalition's war with the VoidBorn. The evacuation had been hasty, chaotic, and many had been lost. The translators say Netherians process emotions differently than we do, Cooper mentioned as he joined them. They form empathic resonance bonds. Without them, they begin to shut down. Literally, look at her skin tone. It should be vibrant, pulsing with light patterns. Dr. Chen nodded. He'd noticed the dullness in her usually iridescent complexion. The small ridges along her forearms, normally glowing with emotional signifiers, remained dark and lifeless. That evening, after most staff had retired, Dr. Chen found himself drawn to the observation dome. Aya sat in her usual spot, small and still, her reflection ghost-like against the backdrop of stars. He sat down several feet away, not wanting to intrude on her space. From his bag, he removed a small sketch pad, something he'd carried since his academy days. Drawing had always calmed his mind during difficult cases. The scratching of pencil against paper filled the silence between them. He sketched the nebula visible through the dome, adding details from memory of how Nethera had looked before the conflict, its multiple moons and the famous floating crystal formations that had made it renowned throughout the galaxy. When he finished, he carefully tore the page from his book. The sketch wasn't perfect, but it captured something essential about her lost home. He placed it on the floor halfway between them and stood to leave. "I'll see you tomorrow, Aya," he said softly, knowing she wouldn't respond as he walked away. He didn't notice the slight movement of her head, the first she had made voluntarily in weeks, nor the faintest purple glow that briefly illuminated her fingertips as she looked at the drawing of her destroyed home back in his quarters. Dr. Chen reviewed her medical charts. The Netherian biology was complex, their nervous systems intertwined with bioluminescent pathways that allowed them to communicate through light and color. Children especially relied on these connections, forming bonds that transcended verbal language. "Maybe we've been approaching this all wrong," he whispered to himself, setting an alarm for early morning when he arrived at the dome the next day. Something had changed. Aya sat in her usual place, but in her small hands she held his drawing. And for the first time since her arrival, a single tear traced a glowing path down her purple cheek. Paper bridges. Dr. Chen froze in the doorway. His breath caught in his throat. For 23 days, the medical team had tried everything to reach Aya, specialized translators, Netherian cultural objects, even bringing other refugee children to play near her. Nothing had worked. Yet now she held his simple drawing with both hands, her fingers tracing the outline of her lost home. "Don't make any sudden movements," whispered Kai, the xenopsychologist who had appeared beside him. "We don't want to disrupt whatever is happening." Dr. Chen nodded. "Keeping," his distance as he settled on a bench across the room. From his bag, he removed his sketchbook again and began to draw. This time he sketched a young Netherian girl, Aya herself, standing beneath the twin moons of her homeworld. In the drawing, her skin glowed brightly with patterns of light, the way Netherian children did when they were happy. When he finished, he carefully placed the drawing on the floor and slid it toward her with gentle movements. Then he returned to his bench, pretending to work on his tablet while watching from the corner of his eye. Minutes passed. Aya's gaze shifted from the stars to the new drawing. For a moment, Dr. Chen thought he had lost her attention. Then, with movements so slow they were almost imperceptible, she reached for the paper. "She's responding," Kai whispered into his communicator. "Alert medical team, quietly. No disruptions." Aya held both drawings now, looking between them. Dr. Chen noticed a subtle change, the faintest pulse of light beneath. Her skin, like a dying star finding new energy. Each day that followed, Dr. Chen brought new drawings. He sketched Netherian animals, the famous floating gardens of her world's capital city, and scenes from stories he'd read about her culture. He never approached directly, always leaving the pictures where she could find them, giving her the choice to engage on the seventh day. As Dr. Chen left his daily drawing, a sketch of the refugee center's garden, he noticed something new. A small handprint on the floor beside his paper. Made in a faint purple luminescent dust, Netherian children could release this substance when expressing themselves through art. A biological quirk that scientists still didn't fully understand. "She's trying to communicate," said Sarah, the center's director, when Dr. Chen showed her the image he'd captured of the handprint. "That's the first creative expression she's attempted. I'd like to leave art supplies near her tomorrow." Dr. Chen suggested, not asking her to use them, just making them available. The next morning, Dr. Chen arrived to find Aya in her usual spot, but something had changed in her posture. The rigid stillness had softened slightly. He placed his new drawing alongside a small container of specialized Netherian pigments, safe for her unique biology, and color-changing paper that responded to touch. He retreated to his usual distance and began working on reports, occasionally glancing toward the small purple figure by the window. An hour passed before he noticed movement, Aya's hand hovering over the pigments, then slowly selecting one. Her movements were hesitant at first, then grew more certain by evening, when Dr. Chen returned to collect the materials. He found a drawing waiting for him. It showed two figures standing beneath a dome of stars, one clearly Netherian with purple skin, the other human. Their hands didn't touch in the drawing, but they stood side by side, looking at the same stars. "This is extraordinary," Isabel from Xenobiology whispered when he showed her the image. The neural pathways required for artistic expression were thought to be among the first to shut down during Netherian emotional trauma. She's fighting her way back that night. Dr. Chen couldn't sleep. He sat in his quarters looking at Aya's drawing, wondering about the silent world she lived in. He understood isolation, had felt it himself after losing his family in the Meridian conflict years ago. Perhaps that's why he recognized something in her stillness that others had missed. He drew until morning, creating a story told only in images, about a human and a Netherian building, a bridge of stars between their worlds. When he finished, he knew it was unlike anything he'd drawn before. There was something of himself in it, something honest and unguarded. When he gave it to Aya the next day, she looked up at him for the first time. Her star-filled eyes met his, and the edges of her mouth curved upward in the faintest suggestion of a smile. Luminous trust. The medical team gathered around the observation screen, watching in fascinated silence as Aya's biometrics displayed on the monitor. The previously flat lines of her emotional resonance patterns now showed gentle waves rising and falling like a calm sea. "It's remarkable," said Dr. Sanjay, the neural specialist. "Her limbic activity has increased 40% in just 2 weeks. The biochemical markers for Netherian emotional expression are beginning to stabilize." Dr. Chen barely heard them. His attention remained fixed on Aya herself, not the data she generated. Each day, the purple glow beneath her skin grew stronger. The patterns, unique identifiers among Netherians, were becoming more distinct, flowing like luminous rivers across her arms when she drew today, as he entered the observation dome with his sketchbook. Aya looked up immediately. No longer did she stare exclusively at the stars. Now she watched for him, anticipated his arrival. "Good morning, Aya," he said softly, setting down beside her at a respectful distance. He'd learned that Netherians valued personal space, especially during recovery. Their empathic abilities made them vulnerable to emotional overwhelm. He began to draw, and to his surprise, Aya moved closer to watch the process. Her large eyes followed the movement of his pencil with intense curiosity. When he sketched a Netherian light festival, a celebration he'd only read about, she reached out suddenly, her finger hovering over his drawing. "Is something wrong?" he asked gently. Her finger touched the paper, leaving a glowing purple trace. She was correcting him, showing how the light patterns should flow during the ceremonial dance he'd attempted to capture. "Thank you," he smiled. "You're teaching me." The faintest sound escaped her. Not quite a word, but a soft musical note. Netherians had secondary vocal structures that produced tonal communications. This single note carried more meaning than 1,000 words could have expressed. It signified trust words spread quickly through the facility. Commander Rena herself came to observe the breakthrough. Her stern features softened as she watched Aya and Dr. Chen drawing together, the small purple child, now producing complex light patterns through her artwork. "The Coalition Science Division will want detailed reports," Commander Rena told Dr. Chen later. "We've never documented Netherian recovery from severe traumatic shutdown before. Your methods could help others." Dr. Chen felt uncomfortable with the attention. What had begun as a simple human connection now risked becoming a research project. He worried about how that might affect Aya, whose trust remained fragile as new glass. That evening, as they sat together in the quiet dome, Dr. Chen noticed Aya watching him with unusual intensity. Suddenly, she placed her palm flat against the floor between them. A cascade of bioluminescent particles flowed from her hand, arranging themselves into a pattern he recognized from his xenobiology training, the Netherian glyph for family. His heart tightened in his chest. Understanding the significance, he placed his own hand near hers, not touching, but acknowledging. He knew that Netherian children formed familial bonds through resonance connections, not just biological relations. In their culture, those who shared emotional harmony became true family. "I'm honored, Aya," he said softly, knowing she understood his words even if she couldn't yet respond with human language that night. A message arrived from Coalition headquarters. A specialist team was being dispatched to evaluate Aya's progress, with orders to determine her placement in the Netherian refugee assimilation program. Dr. Chen read the directive with growing unease. The clinical language discussed her as a subject, not a child finding her way back from unimaginable loss in his quarters. He drew with unusual intensity, creating an image of Aya surrounded by light, her connection to the stars unbroken despite everything she had endured. In the drawing, her eyes held not just stars but entire galaxies, worlds of possibility and hope. When he gave it to her the next morning, something extraordinary happened. As she touched the paper, light flowed from her fingertips, spreading across her entire body in rippling waves of purple radiance. For the first time since her arrival, Aya was fully expressing emotion through the luminous language of her people. Resonance patterns. The Coalition specialist arrived wearing the sterile white uniform of the Xenobiological Research Division. Her name was Dr. Vestra, and her reputation preceded her. Throughout the galaxy, her work on non-human trauma recovery was considered groundbreaking if controversial. "Quite remarkable progress," Dr. Vestra commented, reviewing Aya's files in the conference room. You've established preliminary resonance communication through artistic expression, an innovative approach. Dr. Chen, her words were complimentary, but something in her tone made Dr. Chen uneasy. The way she referred to Aya as the subject, rather than by name. The clinical detachment with which she viewed the drawings they'd shared. Aya's recovery is still very fragile, he said carefully. Any disruption to her routine could set her back significantly. Dr. Vestra smiled thinly. We've prepared a specialized facility on Europa Station. Netherian children there are showing excellent progress with our immersive rehabilitation program. The coalition feels her development would accelerate in that environment. You want to relocate her? Dr. Chen couldn't keep the alarm from his voice. In 3 days, Dr. Vestra confirmed. The transport is already scheduled that evening. Dr. Chen found Aya waiting by their usual spot, her drawings laid out in a careful pattern. As he approached, he noticed something different. She had created a sequence of images that told a story. His story, from his arrival at the facility to their first shared artwork, each moment captured through her unique perspective. The last image showed 2 figures standing beneath twin suns, hand in hand, one purple, one human. Between them flowed ribbons of light connecting their hearts. It was the Netherian symbol for a bond that transcended physical distance, eternal connection. This is beautiful. Aya, he said, his voice thick with emotion. I need to tell you something. He explained about Dr. Vestra and Europa Station as gently as he could, using both words and simple drawings. Aya's luminescence dimmed as understanding dawned. The light patterns across her skin shifted to deep indigo, the Netherian expression of profound loss. It's a good place, he tried to reassure her, though he wasn't convinced himself. You'll be with others from Nethera. They can help you in ways I can't. Aya looked at him with those star-filled eyes, then touched her drawing again, the one showing their connected hearts. The message was unmistakable. That night, Dr. Chen couldn't sleep. He paced his quarters, thinking about Netherian biology and the empathic bonds their species formed. In his research, he had read that such connections, once established, weren't easily broken. For a child still recovering from trauma, severing a new bond could cause significant harm in the morning. He requested an urgent meeting with Commander Rena, presenting his concerns with all the scientific evidence he could gather. The commander listened impassively. Her fingers steepled before her. Dr. Vestra's credentials are impeccable, she said finally. The coalition has invested billions in the Europa program. Their recovery rates are impressive. Statistics don't tell the whole story, Dr. Chen argued. Aya has formed a specific resonance bond in Netherian culture. That sacred Commander Rena's expression softened slightly. I understand your concern, Chen, but we must consider what's best for her, long-term recovery later. As Dr. Chen sat alone in the observation dome, he felt a presence behind him. Turning, he found Dr. Vestra watching him with clinical interest. You've formed an attachment to the subject, she observed. It's not uncommon among researchers working with empathic species. The resonance effect works both ways, you know. Her name is Aya, he said quietly. And yes, I care about her well-being. Then you should want what's best for her development, Dr. Vestra replied. Our facility has resources this outpost can't provide. The other Netherian children will help her reintegrate into their cultural patterns. Dr. Chen wanted to argue, but found himself questioning his own motives. Was he protecting Aya or himself? Had he mistaken professional care for something more personal? The doubt crept through him like a shadow. That evening he brought Aya a new drawing, a picture of Europa Station, with its advanced facilities and the community of Netherian refugees, building a new life there. He wanted to be honest with her, to prepare her as she studied the image. Her skin began to pulse with rapid patterns, complex emotional expressions he couldn't fully interpret. Then, with deliberate movements, she tore the drawing in half. Her eyes met his with an intensity that needed no translation. In that moment, Dr. Chen understood that what had formed between them wasn't just a doctor-patient relationship or even a simple friendship. It was something the Netherians had a specific word for Valoran, a connection that transcended conventional understanding, a resonance of souls. Celestial whispers. The transport vessel waited in the docking bay, its engines humming with restrained power. Dr. Vestra stood by the boarding ramp datapad in hand, efficiently processing the final arrangements for Aya's transfer to Europa Station. Dr. Chen knelt before Aya in the preparation chamber, helping her pack the drawings they had shared. His movements were mechanical, his heart a stone in his chest. He had spent the night searching for alternatives, contacting colleagues throughout the system looking for precedents that might allow her to stay. All paths led to the same conclusion. The Coalition's authority was absolute in refugee placement. "It's time," Dr. Vestra announced from the doorway. Her tone was not unkind, merely, efficient. Aya's skin had dimmed to a muted lavender, the vibrant purple now subdued with emotion. She clutched her art case against her chest. Inside were all the drawings they had created together, memories preserved on paper. "You'll do wonderfully at Europa Station," Dr. Chen told her, forcing brightness into his voice. "Remember everything we've practiced. The other Netherian children will help you learn more about your heritage." As they walked toward the transport, Dr. Chen felt a subtle weight against his hand. Aya had slipped her small purple fingers into his. It was the first time she had initiated physical contact. Netherian touch was rare, intimate, sacred in their culture. A final gift of trust at the boarding ramp. Dr. Vestra stepped forward, hand extended to lead Aya aboard. The moment stretched between them, frozen in time. Dr. Chen felt Aya's fingers tighten around his. Then it happened. "Stay." The word hung in the air, soft as starlight, but unmistakable. Everyone in the docking bay turned toward the small purple figure. It was the first word she had spoken since arriving at the facility. Dr. Vestra's professional composure slipped momentarily, her eyes widening at this unexpected development. She recovered quickly, making a note on her datapad. "Most interesting," she murmured. First vocalization coinciding with separation anxiety, consistent with attachment formation. "This isn't just attachment," Dr. Chen said, finding his voice. "This is a resonance bond. In Netherian culture—" "I'm well aware of Netherian bonding processes," Dr. Vestra interrupted. "The Europa program accounts for such attachments. We have transition specialists who can help her form new connections." Dr. Chen looked down at Aya, whose star-filled eyes now brimmed with luminescent tears. The light patterns across her skin had formed into complex symphonies of emotion, hope, fear, determination, all flowing together in purple waves. "Stay," she repeated, her voice stronger now. Commander Rena stepped forward from where she had been observing the proceedings. Her expression was unreadable as she studied the child and the doctor standing hand in hand. "Dr. Vestra," she said finally, "I believe we should consider what's happening here." "With respect, Commander," Dr. Vestra replied. "Emotional displays are expected during transitions. Our protocols are designed to—" "I wasn't speaking of protocols," Commander Rena interrupted. "I've reviewed Dr. Chen's research on Netherian resonance bonding. It appears we may be witnessing something unprecedented." The discussion continued around them, but Dr. Chen barely heard it. He knelt beside Aya, bringing himself to her eye level. The connection between them seemed to pulse with its own life, vibrant and undeniable. "I don't want to leave you," Aya whispered, each word carefully formed, precious as a newborn star. Something broke open in Dr. Chen's heart, a door he had kept closed since losing his own family years ago. He understood then that this wasn't just about Aya's recovery. This was about both of them, finding healing in the most unexpected place. When he looked up, he found Commander Rena watching them with new awareness in her eyes, perhaps. she said thoughtfully. We could consider an alternative arrangement. Europa Station isn't the only place where Netherian culture is being preserved. 3 months later, the refugee center's eastern dome had been transformed. A small but thriving Netherian cultural center had taken shape under Dr. Chen's guidance, with support from coalition scientists who recognized the unique opportunity to study resonance bonding in action. Aya was no longer the only Netherian child. There, 3 others had joined the program, each paired with specialists trained in Dr. Chen's methods in their private quarters. Aya sat cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by drawings. Her purple skin glowed brilliantly now, health and happiness evident in every luminous pattern. She looked up as Dr. Chen, now officially her guardian under coalition law, entered with new art supplies. I made something for you, she said, her voice musical and clear. She handed him a drawing unlike any she had created before. It showed the 2 of them standing beneath the stars. But now they were surrounded by others, humans and Netherians together, building something new from the ashes of what had been lost. It's beautiful, Dr. Chen whispered, seeing the future she had imagined for them. Not just beautiful, Aya replied, touching his hand gently. Her skin glowed brighter where their fingers met, resonance patterns flowing between them in the silent language of her people. True, outside, their window. The stars continued their eternal dance, unchanged by the conflicts that had raged beneath them, indifferent to boundaries of species and worlds. In their light, 2 souls from different planets had found what both had thought lost, forever, a home in the vast universe built not of matter but of connection. That night, as Aya slept peacefully for the first time since her arrival, Dr. Chen added one final drawing to their collection, 2 hands reaching across the void between worlds, fingertips touching, creating light where there had been only darkness. Beneath it, he wrote the Netherian word Aya had taught him, the one that meant both beginning and forever. Nyara.